There's one mistake that Harley owners make over and over again. It's so common that I see it every single day. It's so expensive that it costs the average Harley owner $10,000 or more over the life of their bike ownership. And it's so avoidable that I genuinely get angry when I see people doing it, because with just a little bit of knowledge and awareness, they could save that money and put it towards something that actually matters. Today is December 6th, 2025. And I'm going to expose the single dumbest thing Harley owners do, why they keep doing it even though it's destroying their finances, how much it's actually costing you if you're doing it right now, and exactly what you need to do starting today to stop throwing money away. This video is going to make a lot of Harley owners uncomfortable because they are going to recognize themselves in what I'm describing. Some of you are going to get defensive in the comments, some of you are going to deny it, but deep down you're going to know I'm right. And hopefully that discomfort will motivate you to change your behavior and stop wasting money. Stay till the end, because I'm going to break down the exact dollar amount this mistake costs you year by year. And I'm going to show you a simple system you can implement today to never make this mistake again. Make sure you smash that like button right now if you're tired of being broke because of bad decisions. Subscribe and hit the bell, because this channel exists to save riders money by telling them hard truths that nobody else will. And if you're a Harley owner doing the dumb thing I'm about to describe and you're mad at me for calling it out, good. Use that anger to change. Let's get into it. The single dumbest thing Harley owners do is this. They let dealerships do all their maintenance and service. That's it. That's the mistake. Harley owners take their bikes to Harley dealerships for everything: oil changes, tire changes, brake pad replacements, primary fluid changes, air filter replacements, spark plugs, everything. And they pay dealership labor rates of $120 to $150 per hour for work that's either incredibly simple and could be done at home in 30 minutes, or could be done at an independent shop for half the price, or in many cases doesn't even need to be done at the interval the dealer recommends. This single mistake, repeated over and over throughout the ownership of the bike, costs Harley owners thousands and thousands of dollars, money that disappears into dealership service departments and never comes back. Money that could have been saved and used for trips, upgrades, or better yet, invested and grown into real wealth. But instead, it gets handed over to dealers for overpriced service. Let me be very clear about something before Harley fanboys start screaming in the comments. I am not saying you should never use a dealership for service. There are absolutely times when dealership service makes sense. Warranty work obviously has to be done at a dealer. Complex diagnostics that require factory scan tools and software. Major engine or transmission work that's beyond the skill level of most riders or independent shops. Recalls and technical service bulletins. Those things should be done at dealers. What I'm talking about is routine maintenance, the basic stuff that needs to be done regularly to keep your bike running. Oil changes, fluid changes, tire mounting, brake pad swaps, air filters, spark plugs. This is not complicated work. This is not specialized work. This does not require factory training or proprietary tools. And yet Harley owners line up at dealerships every single day to pay obscene amounts of money for this simple work, because they've been convinced by Harley's marketing and dealer service departments that only Harley dealers can properly maintain Harley motorcycles. It's a lie. A profitable lie that Harley perpetuates, because service departments are massive profit centers for dealerships. Let me break down exactly how much this costs you with real numbers from actual dealership service menus. I pulled pricing from multiple Harley dealerships across the country, averaged them out, and I'm going to show you what you're paying versus what this work actually costs if you do it yourself or use an independent shop. First, oil changes. Harley dealerships charge anywhere from $150 to $250 for a basic oil change depending on the model and location. Let's call it $200 average. What does that service actually include? They drain the old oil, replace the oil filter, refill with new oil, check the bike over for obvious problems, and that's it. The parts cost for this service, meaning the oil and filter, is maybe $30 to $40 if you're using premium synthetic oil and a quality filter. That means you're paying $160 to $170 in labor for a job that takes a competent mechanic maybe 20 minutes. At $150 per hour shop rate, 20 minutes of labor should cost $50. You're being charged triple that because they round up to a full hour minimum labor charge. If you do this yourself at home, which is incredibly easy, You spend $30 to $40 in parts and 30 minutes of your time. Over the life of owning a Harley, if you keep it for 10 years and change oil every 5,000 miles and ride 10,000 miles per year, that's 20 oil changes. At $200 each at a dealer, you spend $4,000. Doing it yourself, you spend $800. You just saved $3,200 on oil changes alone. Next, tire changes. Dealerships charge $150 to $200 to mount and balance a tire that you bring them, and if you buy the tire from them, they might discount the labor slightly, but they mark up the tire price so you end up paying the same or more. Independent motorcycle shops charge $60 to $80 for the same service. If you're handy and invest in a tire changing setup, you can do it yourself for the cost of some basic tools and wheel weights. Over 10 years of ownership, let's say you go through 4 rear tires and 3 front tires because rears wear faster. That's 7 tire changes. At a dealer at $175 each, that's $1,225. At an independent shop at $70 each, that's $490. You save $735 just on labor by using an independent shop instead of a dealer. And if you learn to do it yourself, you save even more after the initial tool investment. Brake pad replacement. Dealers charge $250 to $350 per set, depending on front or rear. The parts, meaning the brake pads themselves, cost $40 to $80, depending on quality. The labor to replace brake pads on a Harley is straightforward. Remove the wheel, remove 2 bolts holding the caliper, slide out the old pads, push the pistons back, slide in new pads, reinstall everything. It takes maybe an hour for someone who's done it a few times. At a dealer, you're paying $200 to $250 in labor for this. At an independent shop, you'll pay $80 to $100 in labor. Do it yourself, and you pay 0 labor. Over 10 years, you'll probably replace brake pads 3 or 4 times depending on your riding style and mileage. Let's say 4 times total, twice front and twice rear. At a dealer, that's around $1,200. DIY, that's $320 in parts. You save almost $900. Primary fluid change. Dealers charge $120 to $180. The fluid itself costs $20 to $30. The job takes 20 minutes and involves draining the primary case, replacing the drain plug O-ring, and refilling with fresh fluid. There's nothing complicated about it. Over 10 years, you should change primary fluid every 10,000 miles or once a year, so that's 10 services. At a dealer, that's $1,500. DIY, that's $300. You save $1,200. Spark plug replacement. Dealers charge $250 to $400, depending on the model. The plugs themselves cost $30 to $60 for a set. On touring bikes, you have to remove the fuel tank to access the rear plugs, which adds labor time, but it's still not a complicated job. Over 10 years, you'll change plugs 2 or 3 times. Let's say 3 times at $300 each at a dealer. That's $900. DIY, that's $180 in parts. You save $720. Air filter replacement. Dealers charge $80 to $150. The filter costs $20 to $40. The job takes 10 minutes and involves removing the air cleaner cover, pulling out the old filter, dropping in a new one, and reinstalling the cover. It's so simple that if you can't do this yourself, you probably shouldn't own a motorcycle. Over 10 years, you'll replace the air filter 6 to 8 times depending on riding conditions. Let's say 7 times at $100 each at a dealer. That's $700. DIY, that's $280 in parts. You save $420. Let's add it all up. Oil changes, $3,200 saved. Tire mounting, $735 saved. Brake pads, $900 saved. Primary fluid, $1,200 saved. Spark plugs, $720 saved. Air filter, $420 saved. Total saved over 10 years by doing your own basic maintenance instead of paying a dealer, $8,175. And that's just the basic regular maintenance items. That doesn't include other services like coolant changes if you have a liquid-cooled bike, fork oil changes, drive belt replacements, battery replacements, all of which dealers also massively overcharge for. If you factor in everything, the real number is easily over $10,000 saved by not using a dealer for routine work. $10,000. That's a down payment on a house. That's a year of mortgage payments. That's a nice used car. That's a college fund contribution for your kid. That's retirement account growth. But instead, most Harley owners just hand that money to dealerships because they're too lazy or too intimidated to learn basic maintenance. Now let me address the excuses I know I'm going to hear in the comments. Excuse number 1. I don't have time to do maintenance myself. Yes, you do. You have time. You just choose to spend it on other things. An oil change takes 30 minutes. You spend more time than that scrolling social media every day. You spend more time watching TV. If you genuinely want to save money, you'll make time. And if you truly don't have time, which I doubt, then at minimum use an independent shop instead of a dealer. You'll still save thousands without having to do the work yourself. Excuse number 2, I don't have the tools or space to work on my bike. Tools are cheap. A basic socket set, some wrenches, a torque wrench, an oil drain pan, and a few specialty tools specific to Harleys will cost you maybe $300 to $400 total. That pays for itself after 2 or 3 oil changes. You can buy tools gradually as you need them. As for space, you don't need a full garage. A driveway or even a parking spot works fine for most basic maintenance. I've seen people do complete oil changes in apartment parking lots. Where there's a will, there's a way. Excuse number 3. I'm not mechanically inclined. I'll mess something up. Here's a secret. Nobody is born mechanically inclined. It's a learned skill. And with YouTube and online forums, learning how to do basic motorcycle maintenance has never been easier. There are step-by-step video tutorials for literally every service procedure on every Harley model ever made. You can watch someone do it, pause the video, do that step on your bike, go back to the video, watch the next step, repeat. If you can follow a recipe to cook dinner, you can follow a video tutorial to change your oil. And even if you make a small mistake, it's usually easy to fix and you'll learn from it. The idea that only trained professionals can do this work is nonsense. Dealers want you to believe that, so you keep paying them. Excuse number 4. If I do my own maintenance, I'll void my warranty. This is the most common myth and it's completely false. The Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act, which is federal law, says that a manufacturer cannot void your warranty just because you did your own maintenance or used non-dealer service. As long as you use proper parts and procedures and can document what you did, your warranty remains valid. Now, if you screw something up during DIY maintenance and that causes damage, obviously that damage won't be covered. But normal wear and tear and defects are still covered even if you've been doing your own oil changes. Dealers perpetuate this myth because it scares people into using dealer service. Don't fall for it. Excuse number 5. Dealer service is more convenient. I can drop it off and pick it up when it's done. Sure, it's convenient. But is that convenience worth thousands of dollars? You're paying an enormous premium for the convenience of not having to get your hands dirty. And honestly, dealer service isn't even that convenient. You have to schedule an appointment days or weeks in advance. You have to drop the bike off and arrange transportation home. You have to wait for them to actually do the work, which can take all day or multiple days because you're in a queue behind other bikes. You have to go pick it up and hope they didn't find a bunch of other stuff they want to charge you for. Doing it yourself at home takes 30 minutes whenever you want to do it. You don't have to schedule anything or go anywhere. That's actually more convenient. Now, let me talk about the psychological manipulation that Harley dealerships use to keep you dependent on their service departments. When you go to a dealer for service, they don't just do the work you asked for. They do a multi-point inspection. They go over your bike looking for anything and everything they can find to upsell you on additional services. Your tires are at 50% tread? They'll tell you that you need new tires soon. Do you want to schedule that now? Your brake pads have 5 millimeters left? They'll say the pads are getting low. We should replace them soon. Do you want us to do that today? Your primary fluid looks a little dark? We recommend changing it, even though it's not due yet. Your air filter has some dust in it? This should really be replaced. They create a sense of urgency and make you feel like your bike is on the verge of failure, and only they can save you. It's fear-based selling. And it works because most people don't know enough about their bikes to push back. So they agree to the additional services, and the bill goes from $200 for an oil change to $700 for oil change, plus brake pads, plus primary fluid, plus air filter. And you drive away thinking, wow, good thing they caught all that stuff. I'm glad they're taking care of my bike. No, they're taking care of their profit margins. They're padding the bill. Most of that stuff didn't need to be done yet. They're taking advantage of your lack of knowledge. Here's a real story from a guy I know named Mark. Mark bought a brand new 2023 Street Glide, Beautiful bike, fully loaded, he paid $34,000 out the door. Mark is not mechanically inclined. He's never worked on bikes or cars. He trusted the dealer completely for all service. Over the next 2 years, Mark religiously took his bike to the dealer for every service, every oil change, every inspection. Every time the dealer told him something needed to be done, he agreed. At around 12,000 miles, barely 2 years of ownership, Mark got a service bill that included oil change, primary fluid, brake fluid flush, new rear brake pads, new battery, air filter, and a few other small items. The total bill was $1,400. Mark paid it without questioning it because the service advisor told him all this stuff was necessary and he trusted them. A few months later, Mark was at a bike night talking to some other riders about service costs. Someone asked him what he'd been paying for maintenance. Mark told the story about the $1,400 service. The other riders looked at him like he was crazy. They started asking questions. Did you really need all that stuff? How many miles on the brake pads? Was the battery actually bad, or did they just sell you a new one? Mark didn't know. He just trusted the dealer. One of the riders offered to look at Mark's bike. They checked everything. The new brake pads the dealer had installed still had 8 millimeters of material, meaning the old pads probably had 5 or 6 millimeters and didn't need to be replaced yet. The new battery tested at full voltage and capacity, meaning the old battery was probably fine too. The primary fluid looked brand new because it was, but it didn't need to be changed at 12,000 miles. It could have gone to 20,000. Mark had been massively overcharged for services he didn't need. He'd been scammed, and this wasn't even a shady used car lot type dealer. This was an official Harley dealership in a nice area with good reviews. They do this to everyone. It's standard practice. Mark started doing research. He watched YouTube videos. He joined Harley forums. He bought a service manual for his bike. And he started doing his own maintenance, oil changes, air filters, checking brake pads and tire wear himself so he knew when things actually needed service. The next oil change he did himself cost him $35 in parts and 45 minutes of his time. He couldn't believe how simple it was. He was furious that he'd been paying the dealer $200 for something so easy. Over the next year, Mark did all his own basic maintenance. He only took the bike to the dealer once for a recall service that had to be done there. He calculated that he saved over $2,000 that year compared to what he would have spent on dealer service. $2,000 in 1 year. Multiply that over the life of ownership and you see how it adds to $10,000 or more. But here's the thing that really bothers me about this whole situation. It's not just that Harley owners are wasting money on overpriced dealer service. It's that they're missing out on the satisfaction and knowledge that comes from maintaining your own bike. There's something deeply rewarding about taking care of your own machine. Understanding how it works, knowing that you personally changed the oil, checked the brakes, adjusted the belt tension, whatever. You build a connection with your bike. You understand it better. You notice when something feels different or sounds different because you're intimately familiar with every part of it. And you become a better, more confident rider because you're not afraid of your bike anymore. You know that if something goes wrong on a ride, you probably have the knowledge and tools to fix it or at least diagnose it. Compare that to the Harley owner who's never even changed their own oil. They have no idea what's under the covers. They don't know what their bike sounds like when it's healthy versus when something's wrong. They're completely dependent on dealers and mechanics to tell them what's going on. They're helpless. And they're broke because they're constantly paying other people to do things they could easily do themselves. I want to be very clear about something. I'm not saying everyone should become a master mechanic and rebuild their own engines. That's not realistic or necessary. What I'm saying is that every Harley owner should be able to do basic maintenance, oil changes, check and adjust fluid levels, inspect tires and brakes, replace air filters, change spark plugs, lubricate cables and pivot points. These are fundamental skills that every motorcyclist should have. If you can't do these things, you're not really a motorcyclist. You're a motorcycle owner. There's a difference. A motorcyclist understands their machine and takes responsibility for maintaining it. A motorcycle owner just rides it and pays other people to keep it running. Which one do you want to be? Let me walk you through exactly what you need to do to stop being the person who wastes $10,000 on dealer service. Step 1. Buy a service manual for your specific bike. Harley publishes official service manuals for every model. You can buy them from Harley or find PDF versions online. This manual will tell you exactly how to perform every service procedure, what tools you need, what torque specs to use, everything. It's your Bible. Read it. Familiarize yourself with it. Step 2. Buy basic tools. You need a socket set with metric and SAE sizes, combination wrenches, Allen keys, a torque wrench, an oil drain pan, a funnel, and shop rags. This will cost you $300 to $400 for decent quality tools that will last forever. Buy once, cry once. Cheap tools break and make the job harder. Step 3. Set up a workspace. It doesn't have to be fancy. A flat area where you can park your bike and work on it comfortably. Good lighting helps. A small table or cart to organize tools and parts. That's all you need. Step 4. Start with the easiest service first, which is an oil change. Watch 3 or 4 YouTube videos showing oil changes on your specific model bike. Take notes on the steps. Gather your tools and parts. Set aside an hour of time where you won't be rushed or interrupted, and do it. Follow the steps, take your time, don't skip anything. When you're done and your bike starts up and runs fine and doesn't leak, you'll feel like a champion. That's the moment you realize you don't need the dealer for this. Step 5. Keep a maintenance log. Write down every service you do, the date, the mileage, what parts you used. This creates documentation of your maintenance history, which is important for warranty purposes and resale value. It also helps you track what's due next. Step 6. Gradually expand your skills. After you've done a few oil changes and you're comfortable, try the next service. Primary fluid change, air filter. Work your way up to more complex stuff like brake pads and spark plugs. Every new skill you learn is money saved forever. Step 7. Know your limits. I'm not telling you to do everything yourself. There are some jobs that require special tools, skills, or knowledge that most home mechanics don't have. Wheel bearing replacement, fork seal replacement, transmission work, engine rebuilds. For those jobs, use a qualified independent shop or dealer. But at least you'll know enough to understand what they're doing and whether the price is reasonable. You won't be a blind sheep being led to financial slaughter. Now let's talk about independent shops, because even if you don't want to do your own maintenance, you should still avoid Harley dealers. Independent motorcycle shops exist in every city. They work on all brands, including Harleys. They have experienced mechanics. They charge $50 to $90 per hour labor compared to $120 to $150 at dealers. They're usually faster because they're not overbooked like dealers, and they're often more honest because they rely on repeat customers and word-of-mouth reputation rather than captive brand-loyal customers. Find a good independent shop that specializes in or has experience with Harleys. Read reviews. Ask other local riders for recommendations. Take your bike there for service and compare the experience and price to the dealer. I guarantee you'll be happier and save money. Let me give you another real example. A guy named Tony owned a 2020 Road King. He'd been going to the local Harley dealer for all his service. One day, his bike started making a clicking noise from the engine. He took it to the dealer. They diagnosed it as a failing cam chain tensioner, which is a common issue on Milwaukee 8 engines. They quoted him $2,800 for the repair, parts, and labor. Tony asked around and found an independent shop that specialized in Harleys. He got a second opinion. The independent shop confirmed it was the tensioner. They quoted him $1,400 for the same repair using OEM parts, literally half the price. Same parts, same fix, half the cost. Tony had the independent shop do the work. It took them one day. The bike was fixed and ran perfectly. Tony couldn't believe he'd been overpaying the dealer for years. From that point on, he used the independent shop for everything. Over the next 3 years of ownership, he estimated he saved at least $4,000 compared to dealer pricing. Here's another angle on this that people don't think about. When you pay a dealer for service, where does that money go? It goes to the dealership corporation. It pays for their massive overhead, their fancy showroom, their salesmen's commissions, their regional manager bonuses, their corporate parent company profits. Very little of that money actually goes to the mechanic who did the work. The mechanic is usually paid flat rate, meaning they get paid a set amount per job regardless of how long it takes, and that amount is a fraction of what you're charged. A dealer charges you $200 for an oil change. The mechanic might see $30 of that. The rest is dealership profit. When you use an independent shop, more of your money goes to the actual mechanic doing the work. And when you do it yourself, you keep all the money. You're not enriching corporations and dealerships. You're investing in yourself and your skills. Now I know some of you are thinking, okay, I get it, dealer service is expensive, but I still don't feel confident doing this myself. Fair enough, here's a compromise solution. Join a local motorcycle club or riding group. Find experienced riders who do their own maintenance. Offer to help them work on their bikes in exchange for them teaching you. Most experienced riders love talking about wrenching and are happy to mentor someone who's genuinely interested in learning. You'll learn way faster working hands-on with someone who knows what they're doing than you will watching videos alone, and you'll make friends and connections in the process. The motorcycle community is generally very supportive of people who want to learn. Take advantage of that. Another option is to take a basic motorcycle maintenance class. Many community colleges and technical schools offer short courses on motorcycle maintenance and repair. They're usually inexpensive, $50 to $200 for a weekend course. You'll learn the fundamentals in a structured environment with an instructor who can answer questions. That foundation of knowledge will make everything else easier. It's a small investment that pays off immediately. Here's the thing that really frustrates me about this whole situation. Harley-Davidson as a company has spent over 100 years building a brand image around freedom, independence, rebellion, the open road. Living life on your own terms. That's what they sell. That's what their marketing's all about. But then they want their customers to be completely dependent on dealerships for service. They want you to believe that you can't maintain your own bike, that you need them. That's the opposite of independence. It's the opposite of the Harley image. It's hypocrisy. A real Harley rider should be self-sufficient, should know their bike inside and out, should be able to fix it on the side of the road if something breaks. That's the spirit of motorcycling. But modern Harley culture has become soft and dependent and dealer-reliant, and it's costing people a fortune. Let me make a prediction. Some Harley fanboy is going to comment on this video saying, "I'm happy to pay my dealer for service because I trust them and I know the work is done right and it's worth it to me for the peace of mind." To which I say, fine, it's your money. Waste it if you want. But don't pretend you're being smart about it. You're not. You're being lazy and you're justifying it after the fact. And that peace of mind you think you're buying. It's an illusion. Dealers make mistakes too. They hire young, inexperienced techs who are learning on the job. They rush work because they're overbooked. They use cheap parts sometimes. They forget to tighten bolts or refill fluids properly. It happens all the time. Just search online for stories about dealer service screw-ups. There are thousands of them. The idea that dealer service is inherently better or more trustworthy than independent shops or DIY is a myth. It's marketing. Don't fall for it. Here's the bottom line. The dumbest thing Harley owners do is let dealerships do all their maintenance and service. This single mistake costs the average Harley owner $10,000 or more over the life of their bike ownership. That's $10,000 that disappears forever, money that could have been saved or invested or used for things that actually matter. The solution is simple. Learn to do basic maintenance yourself. It's not hard. The tools are cheap. The knowledge is free on YouTube and forums. Start with easy stuff like oil changes and work your way up. If you absolutely refuse to do it yourself, at minimum, use an independent shop instead of a dealer and save 50%. There's no excuse for continuing to throw money at dealerships for routine work. None. If you're doing it, you're being dumb with your money. And I don't say that to be mean. I say it because it's true and somebody needs to tell you. What's your service situation? Are you still using dealers for everything? Have you started doing your own maintenance? What was the moment you realized you were being overcharged? Drop your story in the comments. Smash that like button if this video is going to save you thousands of dollars. Subscribe and hit the bell for more content that helps riders keep money in their pockets instead of handing it to corporations. Share this with every Harley owner you know who's still paying dealers for oil changes. They need to hear this. Thanks for watching. Wrench smart, spend smart. And remember, the best money you spend on your bike is the money you don't spend because you did it yourself.